English Language Learners Case Study 1 by Tori Anderson. I chose this one because I have recently been in a middle school placement and we had several ELL students in that class and I just find it very interesting. Home background of the student. The student is a male and is 12 years old. The student is originally from Mexico and immigrated to the U.S. only 6 months ago, right before the beginning of the school year. He lives with his older brother who took him away from the family farm so that the student could receive better education, and so neither of them would have to be forced to work on the farm for the rest of their lives. The journey was a rough one due to having to sneak out into the country as they were illegal immigrants. They traveled on foot from Chihuahua, Mexico, all the way to San Antonio, Texas, before they were rescued by a friend of the older brother who immigrated legally the year before, then traveled to Cherokee County, Georgia. The two brothers were not able to bring a lot with them. However, the older brother had a decent education and was able to work a better paying job in Mexico, as well as working on the family farm, so had a fair amount of money saved up. The student's native language is Spanish. The student's only family is his older brother, who is 19 right now. Social background of the student. The student loves to play video games and watch movies when he can. The student tries to watch movies in English with Spanish subtitles to help him with his English proficiency, as his language arts resource teacher suggested. The student loves to spend time with his older brother when he can, especially since his brother works a lot. The two of them have been very close the student's entire life. Even with the student's brother working long hours, 10 or more hours a day and 6 times a week, doing both a manager job because the brother is very proficient in English and the labor work at a factory. The two of them are in a lower socioeconomic class. The student gets reduced lunches at school and every other weekend gets a backpack of food to take home. The student does not like interacting with other students very much due to his low proficiency in English, and that some of the other students bully him for that. The student also suffers from anxiety and depression. The anxiety is mainly due to the fear of being deported back to Mexico and messing up words or sentences in English and being laughed at. The depression is due to having to move away from his friends and still not used to his new life in the United States. United States background of the student. The student has only been in United States schools since August. It is currently February. The student is very motivated and works hard but is struggling to understand the concepts due to his difficulty understanding English. The student currently lives with his brother in a single-room apartment that his brother's friend found for them. The student's main responsibilities in the home is to clean up everything and cooks about half the time. The student does not work as he is underage, but would work to help out his brother if he could. His brother told him that he could start babysitting when he turned 13. There is no support from the parents. In fact, the parents disowned his brother and him when they left for the United States. School background. Currently, the student is in an inclusive earth science class for science. The student works very hard and is very motivated wants to do well. Unfortunately, the student ended up with a 60 as his final grade for the first quarter and a 63 for the second quarter, which in the state of Georgia for sixth graders are failing. The student does not have any standardized test scores as he has not taken any one yet. The student has a composite WIDA scores of 3.0 for listening, 2.5 for speaking, 1.5 2.5 for reading and 2.0 for writing. This labels the student as an emergency English language. Student's ELL type. The student is an emerging newcomer ELL student. He knows, understands, and speaks some English but is struggling to become proficient. The student is a newcomer as he has not been under ELL services for very long and is still learning the basics of the language through second language acquisition. I believe that with his hard work, he will improve his proficiency because he wants it. The main cause of his low academic performance is his struggles in learning a second language and having to be taught in that second language. It also doesn't help that sciences, including earth science, are very vocabulary heavy and with difficult vocabulary, especially for an ELL student. Another cause of his low academic performance could be his emotional/mental state. Having anxiety and depression can have a big impact on everyday activities such as school. My philosophy for teaching the student. First of all, I would make sure that there is a response to intervention or RTI set up in order to help the student. This is to make sure that there is nothing else affecting his academic performance, such as learning disability. An RTI will also help to get the English language learning services and supports that the student will need in order to succeed. Since the student does the best in listening to English, it would be best to have him test in a small group where the tests will be read to him instead of him having to read the questions and answers himself, which is his weakest stance. This will also be easy to incorporate since he is in an inclusive earth science class where other students need this support. Another support to give him is to give him lower levels of readings that still fit with the readings of the other students so that he can understand better, and or have him use a text-to-speech app like Office Lens where the reading will be read out to him. The other option is to find a Spanish version of the reading if possible, and the other two suggestions do not work to get the point across. I will assess the student with the same ways as the other students, but factoring in his lower proficiency of English, be lenient on grading aspects such as spelling and grammar. The important step to having the student succeed is to keep the student's hard work ethic and motivation for learning. I will do this by encouraging him any way I can.